We are back on another episode of Sports Slice, and wow, is this going to be a wild episode? Because later on in the episode, we've got basketball star and movie/TV star Duke Skywalka coming on. If you guys aren't familiar, he played in the Big Three, the 3-on-3 basketball league, and then also starred as himself in Hulu's remake of White Man Can't Jump. But before that, as you guys can tell, the background is a little bit different. We're rocking some Eagles gear here. The Philadelphia Eagles are playing the Baltimore Ravens. First preseason game of the year for them. And we've got a little Irish pin on because, again, we're not at the normal setup. Now, you can't see it. We're going to open up these blinds here a little bit. You know, the sun's out right now, so it's tough to see, but we got William Penn behind us. We are in Philadelphia. If you guys don't know, that's City Hall right behind me. We're in Philadelphia. Why? Not because of the Eagles, but because tonight, Saturday, August 15th, is the UFC fights. It's UFC 330. The biggest fight, I think, of the entire year, not named Conor McGregor, Ian Machado Gary versus Islam Makhachev. I don't know, who's all big UFC fans or anything like that. Islam, many people believe, is the debatedly best fighter in not only recent history of the UFC, but potentially all time. He's a 2-time division title champion. The guy, if he wins against Ian Gary, he will, I believe, have the longest win streak in the history of the UFC. The guy has been trained by Khabib. This is Khabib versus Conor McGregor 2.0 because you've got the disciple of Khabib in Islam Makhachev and the disciple, essentially, of Conor McGregor and Ian Gary. We've got Ireland versus Dagestan 2.0. It is going to be one of the most, I think, entertaining fights since, Justin Gaethje versus Ilia Topuria was unbelievable. So, you put that there, like, this fight is going to be so unbelievably fun to watch. And you've got two guys that, Ian Gary, he's a tall 6'3", more of a boxer, but has good grappling on the defensive side versus Islam, who, as we've seen before, he'll throw a handful of punches and just grapple the rest of the fight. And he's totally fine taking things to the scorecard and winning 49-46 kind of thing. Nonetheless, though, I don't think that's going to happen. Islam has talked about how he's going to just stand and strike with Ian. If that happens, this could be a quick fight because I think Ian is going to knock Islam out. Now, regardless, though, I think I've got to support. I've got the Irish flag on here. I think Ian is the clear-cut going to win tonight despite being a heavy dog. And obviously, by the time you guys are listening to this, we all know what will happen. But I'm going to channel my inner Mystic Mac Conor McGregor energy right now. Again, I'm recording this 3-4 hours before UFC 330 even kicks off. No fights have happened. Ian Machado Gary is going to knock out Islam Makhachev, second round, about 3 minutes in. You heard it here first. This will be really funny, though. If that doesn't happen and, Islam gets a submission in the first 30 seconds, I'll go back and I'll listen to this and I'll be like, wow, that was a bad prediction. But you know what? That's part of Sports Slice here is we make the crazy picks. We say the things that, people don't want to say and or too afraid to say. And speaking of that, the NFL is going on right now. We've seen a handful of teams already play their first preseason game. The New York Giants have a problem. The New York Football Giants have a problem. The problem is their offensive line. They're playing the Minnesota Vikings. They can't protect Jackson Dart. And I say the problem is the the New York Giants offensive line, but I think you also could put some of the issues on Jackson Dart as well. They can't protect him. And I think partially, like I said, you could partially blame Jackson Dart because I'm sure he's not properly necessarily changing every protection to properly pick up blitzes and all that kind of stuff. But we are in our first preseason game And Jackson Dart had already came out for concussion protocol. And I get, he comes back in, throws a touchdown pass, next series or whatever it is. But I'm sitting here and I know Jackson Dart is young. And I know he's got the same mentality that so many young quarterbacks, even myself, had when I was going from high school to college is, hey, I'm indestructible. I'm still going to play the same way that I did that when I was 18 years old as I am 24, 25, 26, 27, so on and so forth. And that's the running the football when you shouldn't be. You should be sliding. You should be getting out of bounds, but you're fighting for the extra yards. And I get it. He's a guy, he's a competitor. That's just part of his mentality. He said it, but there's no reason. There is no reason to fight for extra yards if it's 2 yards, 3 yards, whatever it is, because you're making millions of dollars. Like, if you're hurt, guess what? You can't help the team. Same goes with just in the backfield throwing the football. There's no need to sit in the pocket, scramble around, take unnecessary hits, and then just, throw an incomplete pass. Now, with the situation against the Vikings, I don't necessarily blame Jackson Dart for it because bad pass protection. There's a blitz, front side. I mean, he saw it the entire time. Running back tries to pick it up, gets absolutely bulldozed over. And, sometimes it just happens. And it's just a concerning thing for me because it's the whole snowball effect, because it just starts with that. And then, maybe 3 weeks from now, week 1, week 2, another situation happens. And it's like, how many times is Jackson Dart going to be able to take these hits? Now, we haven't even brought up the fact that Jackson Dart probably shouldn't really even be taking that many snaps during the preseason. Like, that's your guy. You protect your guy. Crazy things happen during the preseason. Things that, it's unfortunate, injuries happen, but we've seen so many guys over the years get these weird injuries that they miss a handful of weeks. Maybe they miss the start of the season. Maybe they miss half of the season. Maybe they miss the entire year. I know injuries aren't necessarily preventable at times. Like I said, they just happen. But now I'm an Eagles fan. So, if the Giants just want to completely mishandle another superstar, then so be it. But I feel like the Giants organization, in a way, is doing some disservice to a Jackson Dart. Nonetheless, though, I mean, outside of the concussion almost, he's looked good. He looked really good against Minnesota. A guy that has not looked good, though, and it's not necessarily just one guy, actually. The New York Jets quarterbacks. Geno Smith did not play because he was dealing with foot soreness. Now, this gave a prime opportunity for Brady Cook, Cade Klubnik, and Bailey Zappi to say, hey, we're gonna take this opportunity. We're gonna take a shot here and take advantage of potentially getting extended playing time and prove to fans and prove to the Jets organization, hey, Geno Smith is not your guy. I am. None of them did that. In fact, you could debatably say all three of them did the opposite. Cade Klubnik was all right, had some really good throws, had some miscues. He's a rookie. It's his first time getting snaps in the NFL. You don't really put too much weight into it, but I wasn't sold. It was no Haynes King or Carson Beck performance. Brady Cook is he's just a backup. Just a backup. Statistically, he probably had the best game in terms of completion percentage. All three guys, I believe, had under 70 yards passing. Not great. Bailey Zappi, it's a tough one. It's a tough one because you look at Bailey Zappi in college and you say, wow, this dude, if he puts it all together, he could be really good. I've got the perfect comparison for Bailey Zappi. Bailey Zappi threw for 1 million yards, passed for 1 million touchdowns in college. And then the NFL, he'll have a handful of games here and there where it's like, wow, Bailey, he's respectable. He's a guy that can spot start here and there. And then there's times where it's like, wow, this is a bad game. He's Kevin Kolb. He is the 2026, well, you'd say 2020s version of Kevin Kolb. And you go look at Kevin Kolb's college stats, pretty similar in the fact that the guy threw for 1 million yards, threw for 1 million touchdowns, goes and gets drafted by the Eagles, starts a handful of games after the Donovan McNabb era was over. Couple good, more so not so good. Same thing in Arizona. First 4 weeks, his first year in Arizona, really good. After that, awful. So the Jets have a quarterback problem. And I don't think Geno Smith is the answer, and I think we're going to see that very quickly, that Geno Smith is not the answer for the Jets. Geno Smith, yes, played really well for his handful of years in Seattle. We saw what happened in Las Vegas last year, not great, and I think the same thing is going to happen with the Jets, even though they have some more talented players on offense than in recent years. I'm really excited to see Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end from Oregon, play for the Jets this year. I think he could potentially have a big year, and I think the lack of elite quarterback is actually going to really help him, because a tight end and running backs should be the quarterback's two best friends. Now, it's great to have superstar receivers and everything like that, but when everything's breaking down in front of you as a quarterback, there's two people that you should be looking. No quarterback, when things are breaking down, is going, hey, I'm just going to throw the football up and hopefully somebody's there. Unless you've got a Randy Moss or a Jerry Rice or, Calvin Johnson kind of thing. Most quarterbacks are saying, hey, I've got pressure in my face. I'm rolling outside the pocket, all that kind of stuff. I'm looking for my check down. I'm looking for my running back into the flats. I'm looking for my tight end running OTB route, right? I think you're going to see a lot of those 6 to 10 yard receptions by Kenyon Sadiq this year. And I'd even go as far as saying that there's an opportunity where when the season's all said and done, he may be top 3 receptions out of all the tight ends in the NFL. Just with how the Jets offense is based and the lack of maybe protection on the offensive line. There's so many questions surrounding the Jets, not only organization, but just their offense in general. So I think he could be their one real bright star where it's like, hey, like, you've got a guy, you want to build around him. Get some more talent at the receiver spot. Get a better offensive line. Get a better quarterback, right? Foundation could be set with Kenyon Sadiq. And it's unique because you don't necessarily really normally build around a tight end. But that's how the Jets could potentially get this thing, kind of turn the ship back into the right way. Another team that's got a really bad quarterback issue, the Atlanta Falcons. Tua looked awful. We're not going to spend too much time talking about Tua. Michael Penix is the Falcons starting quarterback. Both are bad. We're gonna put it bluntly. Both have not performed up to their expectations. Tua looked abysmal in his first appearance as an Atlanta Falcon. It's potentially an overreaction because it's just one game. It's a small sample size, right? We'll have a handful more of preseason games here in the next couple weeks to, potentially change that opinion. But right now, the Falcons themselves have a quarterback problem as well, and I feel bad for Kyle Pitts. It seems like we're talking about tight ends all the time here now. I feel bad for Kyle Pitts. I feel bad. You know what? Let me rephrase that. I do feel bad for Kyle Pitts, but I also feel bad for those in fantasy football leagues that are drafting Kyle Pitts, because I don't know who's going to get him the football. And I don't know. It's not the similar situation with the Jets, because you can turn around and say, well, Tim, like, the Falcons have a similar thing. Like, they don't have an elite quarterback. They got a really good tight end. Shouldn't Kyle Pitts benefit from that? No. The difference is after what we saw with Tua, I just don't think there is anybody that can get him the ball. Like, it is a physical problem. No receiver, no tight end, no running backs getting the ball with the Atlanta Falcons quarterback situation right now. Now, they have 2 weeks for the preseason to completely prove me wrong. And that's the great thing about the preseason, is it's almost become like the overreaction time for football fans, because we're finally getting our first piece of football back. And so people like myself are completely overanalyzing some things and are saying, hey, like, this team's not good. I'm sure if we go back in the record books and go and look at the 2008, I believe it was 2008, could be 2009, I believe it was 2008 though, Detroit Lions, the team that went 0-16, they did go 4-0 during the preseason. That's why preseason doesn't matter. This is truly just a time for us fans to overreact and get to see, some rookies like a Haynes King completely blow out their expectations and kind of put them on the map. Nonetheless, though, I'm super excited for the rest of the preseason, which is just shocking to say because preseason, there's a lot of people that don't like the preseason for the NFL because you don't really get to watch your guys play. But I enjoy watching some of the smaller names make a name for themselves. The perfect example is Victor Cruz with the Giants, and Hard Knocks really helped him out as well. I believe they were doing Hard Knocks with the Jets that year, and he went off for like 200 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Jets, and like. The rest was history. The guy was wearing like number 8 as a receiver, which is normal now. But, you go back 15 years ago and you're like, why is a receiver in the NFL wearing number 8? But yeah, so we'll see what happens these next couple weeks. With that, though, like I said earlier, we've got a very special guest coming on. We're going to be talking about his unique journey into playing basketball, how he got started with his big social media following, as well as how Duke, his movie career and acting career came to be. And I'm super excited for you guys to hang out and listen to this because it's unbelievable story. We are back on another episode of Sports Slice, and we got a super special guest here because we got Duke Skywalka, who is a basketball star, kind of has a crazy journey, how got started into basketball and all that kind of stuff, but also was in Hulu's White Man Can't Jump, which first actor on Sports Slice.
Oh, appreciate it. Hey, man, listen, I'm grateful for being here, man. We made history this morning.
What have you been up to here recently?
Well, like I said, I'm in Philly right now. So been doing a lot of basketball, a lot of content. Just trying to, focus on, building my brand. I'm looking at, getting a podcast started. I kind of got all my ducks in a row. I was actually supposed to start my first episode this past week, but I had to be here. So when I started, I need you on there.
There we go. What's the podcast going to be called?
It's going to be called the Skywalka Show.
That's awesome. Gotta ask, right? Because people are going to be listening and they're going to say, how did the name Duke Skywalka came to be? So how did this all happen?
When it comes to basketball, I was a late bloomer. I didn't start playing basketball until my 11th grade year basketball. And I was high school. 11th grade year, I had from my 10th grade summer to 11th grade summer, I grew 5 inches, like a huge leap, and started playing basketball. I played football growing up. I was a football player. So you can imagine your ideal football player playing basketball for the first time. It was ugly, but I was athletic. So my 11th grade year, I was just, jumping everywhere. I got my coordination right, started dunking and stuff like that. Man, senior year, I had some success. Ended up going to college, got hurt. After that, I don't know if you remember the Court Kings. So the Court Kings had the little street ball team, had Hot Sauce. The professor played with them sometimes still, but it was a group. This is around 2014, 2015, they reached out to me and they were like, hey, you want to come, all we need you to do is finish dunks and all that stuff, go on these shows and stuff. And, my nickname been Duke since I was a kid. It's been Duke since I was a kid. And we were at one event and it's crazy because I can't remember the guy, but it was a guy on the MC. When he seen me dunking warm-ups, he's like, man, we got Duke Skywalka in here. And I'm just like, okay. And then this person started calling me it, then that person, and it kind of just stuck. And then I just embraced it, and now we're here.
Dude, that's so crazy. It's always so fascinating to me how, internet personalities like yourself or myself, how, we come up with these names or people come up with these names and, it's kind of like the whole word of mouth thing. Like one person says it and then another person's like, yo, kind of like that. That's the same thing with me with the whole Timbo slice of life. Nobody calls me Tim. I was at a TikTok event actually recently and, I had to fill out my name, all that kind of stuff. And it was with the TikTok radio. And the TikTok radio hosts were like, we didn't know it was Timbo when we were looking at all the information because we didn't know your name was Tim. And I was like, yeah, there's the unknown fact. You kind of touched on it here for a second. So you went and played college basketball, right? Mm-hmm. What was your college career like with, was it a foot injury that kind of derailed the college basketball career?
Yes, I broke my metatarsal It was a stress fracture. Like I was literally so I could tell a lot of people like going from that transition from high school to college is it's a big jump. You know, the same thing is going from college to the NBA, whether it's skill set, you know, the personnel you're gonna be playing against, the workouts, the practices, all that stuff is more intense. So like I said, I was a late bloomer. So going from, you know, high school where, you know, you practice every day. I wasn't, you know, working out, lifting and stuff like that to go to college straight into 3 days. I felt like my body was good, but what the doctor said is I wasn't getting enough rest and stuff like that. And I was literally in the gym. This was a Thanksgiving break. I was back home and I was just in the gym getting shots up. And I shot it, a rebound went. I took a step and I just heard like two big cracks. And then like that next
Ooh.
step, I couldn't put no pressure. I couldn't put any pressure on it. That's when I knew I'm like, hold on. I had never had any like severe injuries like ever. So I was like, nah, I gotta go get this checked out. You know, when I went to the doctor, like by the time I got to the doctor, like my foot was just it was massive. And then he told me, he was
Oh
like, yeah,
man.
man. Yeah. He was like, yep, man, you gotta be out, you know, at least a year. And I'm just like, what? Supposed to been out, you know, they gave me a boot and all that. I was still, you know, once I felt like my foot got better a little, I would take the boot off and try to, you know, shoot and play. So I kind of prolonged it a little bit. Don't do that. Anybody, if you have your injuries, do what the doctor say.
100%.
Rest, heal, do all that good stuff. You know, learn from my mistakes. But yeah, so that kind of derailed that. And then after that, some stuff happened with my scholarship. It was a whole bunch of other stuff, you know, when it comes to school, with you being on scholarship and stuff. So I just started working from that point. And I got an opportunity to play with this pro team out of Jacksonville. That's when the ABA was like still, you know, pretty big, and there was a lot of elite teams. There's a team called the Jacksonville Giants. I went up there and I tried out. Initially, I thought when I went up there for it was a workout. Killed the workout. The coach was like, you know, we like you, all that good stuff. So I came home telling everybody like, hey man, I'm gonna be playing with this pro team. They're gonna pay me to play, blah, blah, blah. So me not knowing, like that was just the workout. So like a few months after that, they have a thing called vet camp where you got to come out there and you actually, you know, you go out there and compete. So when I went out there, I'm thinking everything good, and I get out there and it's like 400 people there. They asked everybody, you know, their position. They were like, hey, if you're a point guard, put your hands up. If you're a wing, put your hands up. So when they said wing, I put my hands up. At least 200 out of the 400 were wings.
It's crazy.
So yeah, so going in there, I'm just like, oh my goodness. So I immediately started thinking like, okay, all these wings are here. I know some people that can probably do the same thing I can do. They can probably shoot. There's probably some athletic guys. Like, what's gonna, put me over the hump? And then that's all like, well, I just gotta hustle and play defense. Like, I just gotta bring that energy from every minute I'm on the court. I gotta do that, and that's what I did. And we ended up playing against the guys that were already on the team. And like the best guy there, like I didn't know he was the best guy there. I found that out, pretty soon. But I started going at him, and like we started going at each other. And then it was just this one play. He was in the corner. Like I said, I was very antsy because I'm playing defense, and he hit me with his hezzy, bro. And I jumped so high in the air, like bro, so high in the air. And then he just like damn near walked by me and just looked at me and just smirked and laid the ball up.
That's
So when that
crazy.
happened, I was just like, yeah, bro. I was like, damn. Yep, that's it for me.
Yep.
uh,
It was
but
nice. That's it though.
bro, it was deadly. I said because he could shoot. So I'm watching him.
Right.
He's hitting a lot of shots. Like prior to my game, he's hitting a lot of shots. He kind of having his way. So I'm like, nah. First time he tried this with me, now I'm finna send this out of this building, bro. One of the smoothest heads I've ever been hit with in my life to this day. That happened. So it was going back and forth, and then towards the end of the camp day, I think it was like you had to make it all 3 days. So it's the third day. Him and the coach were talking, and he kind of called me over because no, you didn't have to last to the 3 days. Like it was 3 days, but you started to see certain guys like say, hey, they tell them, hey, go downtown, like go downtown, go downtown. So technically, it was something to go downtown to sign a contract. So I'm seeing it. So at some point, I'm kind of getting a little discouraged. But I'm like, you know what? I'm still going to go out here and compete. And then like the final day, that same guy, his name is Maurice Mickens. He called me over. He's talking with the coach. He was like, hey, man, he's going to make that call. Tell your family you're going to be up here for a while. So, I looked at him and he's like, yeah, man. The coach was like, yeah, we're going to sign you. Head on downtown. And I'm like, oh, man, that's crazy. So, I just went to calling everybody like, boom, boom. So I actually lived in Jacksonville for like 9 months. The day the day that my son was born, the day before that, I had to be in Jacksonville, like to move in. So I had to drive back down, and obviously I couldn't miss that. And then I had to drive back up because we was getting everything rolling. So that was kind of a bit of a sacrifice that I think it turned out well. Like obviously my son was a baby, but I did miss like a huge chunk of his like first 8 months.
Right.
But it definitely benefited me because from that point, like I said, I won a big championship. It kind of helped me get, my name out there because, like I said, Jacksonville's a very notable team. They had a lot of like players that played, whether NBA, things like that, G League, stuff like that. So being able to compete. And then we went out there and won, got me other opportunities. So I just kept, doing that. But after that, I was just working. I knew for me, having a kid, I couldn't do that lifestyle. Like even like the
Right.
overseas thing. Like I get offers and stuff to go overseas, but that's just never something that I wanted to do. I knew that's something that I wouldn't be able to be successful in because of my mental with me knowing like I have kids at home. And like I get like, to each his own. Like I respect everybody that, that goes over there and do it because I know it's tough. But I just know for me, uh, my dad wasn't involved in my life. So that was like a no brainer for me. Like, nope. Like only way I would get over there is like you would have to like accommodate like my whole family. Like it'd be a lot. So I'm like, I
Right.
was trying to figure out, some type of way to still, be on the court and do what I do. So like I was just working and stuff like that. And then this was this was like right post COVID. Like so it's like right like after like, the pandemic and remember all the basketball hoops, they took all the basketball hoops down and all that stuff like
Oh
that. Like you
yeah.
couldn't go
Yeah.
nowhere. One of my friends was like, hey man, there's some it's like some YouTubers that they come into a park. And they just go out there and they just some open runs and they be having cameras out there. Like you should pop out. And I was just like, man, I gotta work tonight. I was working overnight. I was a manager overnight at Pepsi. I'm like, bro, I gotta work tonight. And he's like, nah, just come. And it was in Clearmont, so it was like probably like 45 minutes from me. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna come. I can't turn down a good time, especially in basketball. Go out there. It's like 600 people out there. I'm like, what is this? Like, I'm looking around, like, what is this? And like Devontae Friegel was out there, like Nick Briggs, like so I didn't know who they were at the time. So I get out there and I ended up getting on like the very last game, like the very last game of the night. I just went crazy. Like, I did me. I just played, my game and I was dunking and stuff like that. So like reactors like Marcellus Howard, Cass Nash, they started reacting to the run. And like everybody started sending me stuff like, hey bro, look at this. And I'm just like, bro, who are these guys, bro? And like I was getting like a lot of compliments and stuff like that. And at the time, our filmer was Scotty, who actually he owns one of the co-owners of Next Chapter. He was our filmer, so like, he was a very like intelligent dude. So he kind of like he DM'd me. It was like from the Ballers Life page, and was like, "Hey, you want to do another one? Like, you want to do a takeover with us?" I'm like, "I'm down." So the one thing led to another, so we just kind of started doing that. And then I remember like I was at work one night and I was on the phone with Scotty, and he was like, "If we keep doing this, you don't have to work again." And I'm just like, "Bro, you telling me us going to the park and playing basketball, I'm not gonna have to work a 9 to 5?" So I didn't believe it, but at the same time, I knew Scotty was a very intelligent person. But I just kind of stuck to it. So like 3 months, I didn't really see like any income from it. And then like that third month, like I got this check from like Ballers Life, like a direct deposit. And I seen the amount, and I'm just like, hold on, whoa, hold on.
You're like, is
I
this
yeah, like
correct decimal places here?
yeah. Like let me make sure, this is not just a one time thing. So wait until I was still working, like doing like so the when I was doing Ballers Life and the videos, so I was still working. So I'm like, let's wait till the next month. The next month came. Same thing. So okay. Third month's the charm. Third month it happened. I was like, yo, well, that's it. And I kind of from that point, from 2021, like the end of 2020, I'm full time content creator. Like I tell people, like it's a grind. It's like a love and hate thing. Like what I mean by love and hate, like I would never hate, creating content, but it's the stuff that people don't see. Like obviously you're a content creator, so you understand getting paid net 60, net 90.
Yep. Yep.
Having to, make sure you're posting enough content, to keep trying to, secure these brand deals because it's not, you'll get some, brands that, you can do some long term stuff with, but for the most part, it'd be like this here, this here, this here. So I think that's my biggest thing that I tell people. Like, it's something that you got to be ready for. And being a content creator is real deal, like a 24/7 job. You take a day off, your algorithm takes a hit. You don't post, your algorithm takes a hit.
I think that's something that somebody that's not a content creator has literally no idea about. Is like, for myself, for example, like I talk about sports news. Sports news are always going on. If let's say I'm on an airplane, Tom Brady decides that, he wants to come back to the NFL and I can't post about it. It's like, me as a content creator, I'm like losing my mind because I'm like, this is prime content. I can't do a thing about it. And then it's like content creators try everything to stay relevant. And,
Yes.
everything's constantly changing and you miss a day or two here and there. And like things can just quickly spiral away from you by just missing a day.
Mm-hmm. It's a big point you made, like, especially with time and like with what you do. Like, prime example, like you said, Tom Brady said he's coming back.
Right.
You need to be one of the first, if not the first person to put that out. Because once it get out there, it's so many people that's going to put it out. So that's like kind of like when I do my
100%.
reaction videos or something viral happens, I have to it could be midnight and I have to go downstairs and get on my computer and blah, 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 to get that out because you wait a day or so, you're too late.
Yeah. The internet forgets so quickly. Like you get like a good 4 or 5 hours of a storyline and then the internet's on the next thing or there's something else that's come up, that people are caring more about. So it's truly like, I say like social media content creators, we're on call 24/7. Like the grind doesn't stop. Your son, you mentioned your son, pretty good basketball player now too, huh?
And that's my youngest. Like he's been playing up his whole life. And then like I finally like allowed him to play his age group. He played AAU Nationals at Wild World of Sports in Disney. And like he dominated. Mm-hmm. Like everybody was like, who is this kid? Just like, who is this kid? And against the number one team in the nation so he's class of 2035. So at the time that was third grade, school just started. So he was third grade, but he was the youngest of his class. Bro, against the number one team in the nation, it's a team out of Chicago, a super good team. Like everybody, like from 1 to 12 on their roster, like they're really good kids. Bro, he had 18 at half. And like they just started sending like
That's
2-3 guys in the rest of the game.
It's got to be fun for you though, getting to, watch your son play the sport that you love and be so successful at it too.
Yeah, I mean with both of my boys, I think that's one thing. Like I feel like as a father, like when you can share something like that, just something as special as that, and you guys are all passionate about it. Like when I'm not working, we're in the gym. Like when I'm home, like probably when I fly out today, when I get home, they're gonna say, "Daddy, can we work out?" And every time I say yes.
That's awesome.
You want them to keep that drive. Yeah, you want them to keep that drive. You never want to, force anything. Like I tell a lot of parents, like, hey man, how your kids get so good? I'm like, I let them start it when they were ready. I didn't like my youngest, he started before my 10-year-old. So my 10-year-old, he's about to be 11 in November. He's cold. Like he's cold. My younger started before him. He started after. Like he wanted to play rec league. I let him play rec league. And then they actually won. He got like a little taste of, what actually earning and winning a championship felt like. And like the day after that, he was like, Daddy, I want to start training. From that point, that developed like that love. Like they actually like love the game. They're students of the game. Like they watch all basketball, college, NBA, women's, everything. Yeah.
We've talked about the basketball career, a little bit of the social media journey. How did you get started with your acting career and being a part of one of the literally the coolest series / movies of, I mean, it's the remake, but of all time, and White Man Can't Jump?
I don't know if you remember the Revolt, the Crew League. You remember that? Like when the
Okay, yeah.
rappers like pick
Yep.
the team and stuff. So I played in that. I played against Chris Brown first game. That's how I ended up coming across him. Finding out he knew who I was. I'm just like, bro, it's crazy. Like, huge fan. Huge fan. Like he's a super cool dude. He's a hooper. But like right after that, like I didn't know that like that was classified as a TV series. I didn't know that. Like they put it out in episode, even though like it went on YouTube, like they put it out in episodes and stuff like that. So I was like, okay. So that kind of was added to my resume. But I got like this random email from this lady and she was like, hey, we're doing this reboot of White Man Can't Jump. Would love for you to be a part of it, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, when I first looked at it, I'm like, is this spam? Because I'm like, a remake? Like, what are we doing? I wrote back and stuff like that. So she's like, okay, I'll keep you posted, blah, blah, blah. I didn't hear from her for like 5 months. And then I got another email and she was like, hey, are you still interested? Unfortunately, like all of like the main roles are filled. We could bring you in as an extra. I was like, I'm still going. Like,
Right, right.
regardless, like,
That's a no-brainer.
yeah, it's a no-brainer. And she was like, okay, I got another thing. It is LA based, so they wanted LA talent. And I'm like, at the time I didn't understand, like, they want like when it's LA based, they really just don't, they want to get people that's in LA so they don't have to cover, the flight and the travel and all this. And like I said, this was post-COVID, so like all the flights were doubled, hotels were doubled, like Uber prices were like outrageous. Bro, my flight was like 1,500 for a round
Oh,
trip. Like, bro, hotel for like 3 days, like another 1,000. I got a hotel, bro. The hotel was like a mile from Venice, like a mile and a half from Venice. The Uber
wow.
there, bro, like during surge hours was like $60 to go like a mile and a half, bro.
Bro, that's
Bro, it was
insane.
insane. But like I said, I knew it was a calling. Like it was for no reason. It wasn't for no reason. We go to base camp. So in Cali, it was like 70 degrees. I'm from Florida. To me, that's cold. Like so, it was cold up there. We're at base camp, so we are getting fitted for uniforms and all that stuff like that. I seen it was like three people that just kept like kind of looking at me a little bit. Like they'll look and then they'll whisper a little bit, and then they'll look again and then they'll whisper a little bit. I'm like, so I didn't pay it no mind. So I was talking to one of the guys I know from LA. His name New Williams. We were sitting there in front of like one of the heaters, just sitting there talking and stuff like that. And then they came up, they was like, hey, can we like take some pictures of you? And I was like, I guess. Okay. So I stood up and they took the pictures, like they like 360, all that stuff like that. So then they was like, oh, okay, thank you. So I just sat down. So like another hour and a half went by. Because the set, that's what the Venice scene. So we were like a couple blocks away from Venice Beach. So this lady named Shelly, she came back and she was like, I'm gonna have to ask you to change out of that and come with me. So you gotta realize I'm at this base camp. There's like a 200 extras there. And they
Right.
was like, they came to me and was like, hey, we need you to go change. And then everybody looking like, ooh.
They're like, what did he
Like,
do
what?
to get in trouble?
Yeah, what? Yeah. So, me, I'm thinking, I'm like, dang, like that, like, do they want to get someone else instead? Because like I said, I knew zero about it. I didn't know nothing. So I changed back into my regular clothes. She was like, come with me. So it was her and like two other people. And like, she had like a straight face. So I'm like, I didn't know what was going on. So like, we're walking up the street now. And she was like, you know what's going on? And I'm like, no. She was like, your role has been upgraded. And I'm like, what does that mean?
Right.
She was like, no, you're not understanding. You have an actual role and you're gonna play as yourself. And I'm just like, my mouth just dropped. So like I started getting jitters immediately. I'm just like, well, like what if I mess up? What if, you know what I'm saying? Like jitters, but at the same time, I'm like, all this is for a reason. So I was just like, man, screw that. All right, let's do it. So like we're walking over to like where the actual like the set is at. So, that's where all the campers and stuff are at. So when I walked up, Philip Wilson, he came up and like he kind of greeted me. Phil, he was on like Euphoria, like he was on a lot of big stuff. Like, he came up like super cool dude, and like was showing me around and stuff. And then like I get to like my camper and it says Duke Skywalka on it. And I'm just like, what? So like go inside, it's heated, they got AC, bathroom, food and stuff in there for you. I'm just like, what in the world? So then when I got there, there's like, all right, it's lunchtime. So I'm just casually walking, in Venice looking for something to eat. And then run across Tiana Taylor. She was super cool. And then I seen Senqua Walls and I seen Jack Harlow. Like Jack Harlow was one of the coolest people ever. Like at the time, I think that's when Boston was. I want to say this is semifinals. Like he's a huge Boston fan, so like during the set, bro, we like on his phone, like huddled up watching the playoffs.
That's crazy, dude.
But yeah, I got to meet everybody. Like everybody was like so down to earth. Like they kind of like everybody welcomed me in. So we're on set and like we got like these big old like heated Adidas like puffer jackets. And so we're sitting down in our chairs, like we got our chairs, so we're sitting down on set. So all the extras come over, like they tell all the extras to come over because they got to be in the background and stuff. And then they come up and everybody looking like, hold up,
They're
like
like, wait
hold
a
on,
minute,
whoa,
we
whoa,
just
whoa,
saw this
whoa,
guy
whoa,
with
whoa.
us. What the heck just
Yeah,
happened?
like what is he doing over there? So like, but when they came up, like that's when the makeup team was there and they was putting like the fake sweat and all that stuff. The director came up to me and short, he was like short guy come up to me. I didn't know he was the director. Short guy, he like, man, what's up, man? I'm such a big fan of yours. Man, I'm like, man, appreciate it, man. And thank you for that. And he was like, yeah, man. They told me you out there. I said, no, he has to be in this. I watch all his videos. I'm just like, he's like, yeah, man, I'm Cal Madden. I'm the director. I'm just like, because he also directed the House Party remake too. So that's how I got the role because the director actually like seeing my videos on Ballin' Life, seeing it on YouTube. He followed me on Instagram and stuff like that. So when he heard I was over there, however he heard it, he heard I was over there. He's like, nah, he needs to be in this. And then he told me like I seen like he gave me like the script, which I didn't say like too much of nothing, but he gave me the script and was like just be you. So like I was out there like under no pressure and they floated. And when they came out, I'm just like, man, like I got to do the premiere. He was like, yeah, man, you should have everything for the premiere. And I'm just like, bro, I don't see anything. I never checked my spam. So
Mm.
this is like a day before the premiere. I had to scramble. Like I had to go find this, find that, get the flight and all that. So the day of the premiere. So me, when I travel, if I'm doing something like that, like a premiere or something, I'll fly in, do what I need to do, catch a red eye, and go home. I got there. My manager was like, listen, I know you haven't eaten. I know you just got to LA, but I need you to tell your Uber to cancel that trip, go to LA Tech. I'm like, LA Tech for what? Kyrie Irving is having a hoop session down there, private hoop session. I'm just like, who? And she was like, Kyrie Irving. I said, okay. So go down there to LA Tech. I come in. It's like 15 of us in there, bro. So I walk in, obviously I see Kyrie, see some other notable names in there and stuff like that. Before they play, they pray, they stretch, they do all that stuff like that. So they split up the teams. And so me and Kyrie was on opposite teams. So like I remember this day like it was yesterday, bro. He's tucking in his shirt, looking around. He's like, hey, who got Duke? I was just like,
How does bro know my name?
bro, my stomach started to hurt immediately, bro. Like I was just like, what? Once we started going up and down a little bit, the jitters came out or whatever. But like we were going at each other and stuff like that. And that's when I really understood like why Kyrie is so special, like his game, like just being able to watch it. Like not with a ref, like not with, like in the arena, just like in the gym, like nobody in it and just watching him work and like his craft and stuff like that. And then like from that point, like after we were done, he was like, hey, we're gonna be in here tomorrow. Like, come back. And I was like, I wish I could, but I got this premiere and I'm flying out. And he was like, oh no, my bad, big time. I was like, nah, man, it's not even that. Like if I would have knew, obviously I would have stayed I would have stayed longer. And then at this time, this is when this is right before he re-signed back to Dallas. And then from that point, like we kind of stayed connected. And then he has this event in New Jersey called More Than a Run that I actually got invited to. And like some other guys from Balls Life got invited to. And I was a part of the game. And then like I woke up like the next morning after that, and I woke up after that, and he followed me, and I was like, let me refresh this real quick. Refresh
Was
this
that
real quick.
was that a mistake or something? Like,
Yeah, let me see. Hold on, let me see. Let me make sure I'm not getting punked over here.
yeah, right.
So I refreshed it. I follow people and stuff like that, but it's like for like an icon like Kyrie, like he's not just doing that for no reason. It's a
Right.
purpose. That let me know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Acting opened up a lot of stuff. I do motion capture acting for NBA 2K as well. I do
Yep.
it every year. So like that's something super cool too. Like, saying that like I'm a part of NBA 2K, like my name is in the credits. I do like animations and things like that. Like it's super fire, bro. It's super fire.
Dude, that's unreal. So we're gonna end it here on this question. Could we be expecting, and you might not know this right now, but could we be expecting you to be in any other movies or TV shows here in the near future? If you're allowed to disclose that information.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely shooting for it. Like I said, I've been doing like commercials and stuff. I did a C4 commercial that came out during the NBA playoffs. This
Okay.
past one. Yeah, I did a C4 commercial. I definitely I want to do more roles and things like that. I mean, for me, I think it just has to make sense. Like if you get a big time role, like all your eggs got to go to that for that moment. So I do know my social medias will take a hit.
Right.
So I just, it just has to, make sense. Like if I could do something like kind of like White Man Can't Jump, like my scene, I was there for like 4 or 5 days. That's
Yep.
cool. That's no problem. But like Jack Harlow, they did that for like a year. So it's constantly traveling back and forth and like, for a whole year. So I definitely want to. I enjoy it. I think it's opportunities that I would be a great fit for. So like definitely like down the road, I want to. Like I said, I just got to keep, building my resume and keep, I do like I could do more on my end though, like with self auditions and things like that too. The things I have been getting, they just like been coming across. Like I get reached out to, like hey, we need a person for this commercial or something like that. So nah, definitely though, for sure.
100%. What you're saying is when Space Jams 3 gets announced, you're going to be in that.
I need to be in that. I
Right?
need to be in that.
There we go. Duke, it's been great having you on here. Love to have you on again. Appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule here. I know we both got flights later today. This has been awesome.
Appreciate you for having me. I know, like I said, your schedule busy. We made it work.
Yep. Had to.